So in this video now, we're going to be talking a bit more about colors, and we're going to introduce the other optional gradient option. So far, when we've done our border or our fill, we've chosen different colors just by typing in colors that we know. A really nice thing that I recommend going to whenever you are getting confused, at the top of your CMU CS Academy, you should be able to see docs and colors. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab by clicking on it. And if you look over here, this is all of the documentation for all of the different commands and things that we can do in CMU CS Academy. Now, there's a lot here. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm still scrolling, right? Tons and tons of stuff to do. We'll get there. We're at the beginning of the year, right? But you can always use your handy dandy find function. So I hit Command F on a Mac or Control F on most other computers. You'll get a little find thing up here, and I can look for rect, and it's gonna be like, hey, here's all the information about how rect works. Look, it's in CS1, which is what I'm going over as the curriculum, 1.1.2, 1.3.1, and it says, hey, we're gonna draw a rectangle. The X coordinate of the left corner, the Y coordinate of the top corner, so the left top corner of my rectangle, the width, and then the height. These are the required ones, and then all the other optional stuff over here, which we haven't even talked about all that stuff yet, right? What you can also look for in here is if I type in colors, there are a bunch of built-in colors. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see there's all of these different colors you can play around with. So instead of just typing red, I could say light salmon or light coral, fire brick, dark red, crimson, and it will give us these different colors that we see on the left. If you want this little button here, we'll copy it to your clipboard. So now you can just Command V or Control V or right click and paste. That it's just in your clipboard now, right? Instead of copying, that's the copy. You could also, of course, always, Control C here, right click and copy if you'd like, but that just does it for you automatically. And we've got all sorts of colors, probably enough colors that you can play around with all those for a while, right? And you can even see on the right here, oranges, reds, yellow, greens, purples, pinks, anything anything you want. Off-whites. Ooh, these are really nice. The mint cream, the ivory, the white smoke, old lace, and they got all different shades of gray. So, though I will note, they don't have 50 of them. They have less than 50 of them. Sorry, bad joke. So you can use all those colors there, right? The light salmon that we copied, bada boom, we can put in there, get rid of my little extra quotes that I have here. And now, oops, notice, I see this error right here. Light salmon should be in red, it's not. I have this in red. Well, that's because I didn't put a starting quote over here. So it thinks that this is a starting quote and it's looking to the right to put this stuff in quotes. So let me put a quote there. Now light salmon's in red. That's in black. It should run. And now we've got this border back to light salmon over here. Got all those colors. What you can also do for your colors, instead of just using some of these built-in colors, you'll notice there's this kind of RGB value. And I'll let you Google that yourself, but RGB lets you really choose basically any color you could ever imagine. RGB stands for red, and then green, and then blue. And the way it works is you can change your red values to be any number between 0 and 255, your green value to be any number between 0 and 255, and your blue to be anywhere between 0 and 255. And you can think of this kind of like mixing your paints. I know in paint it's usually like red, yellow, and blue are your primary colors. Because of technology and how we make lights and stuff like that, they do red, green, and blue instead of red, yellow, and blue. But it's basically like mixing your paints. You're going to take a certain amount of red, certain amount of green, put those together, it'll make some color. This light cyan has got a good amount of red and a ton of green and a ton of blue, and you mix those paint colors together, you get your light cyan. But you're not limited by just saying light cyan or pale turquoise. Now I can play around with all these colors that I want. And here's how you do RGB. Instead of just saying fill or border and then a color in quotes, what you're going to do is take it out of quotes. You're going to say RGB a new set of parentheses, and inside of this set of parentheses, you're going to set your red between 0 and 255, your green, and then your blue, all between 0 and 255. So maybe if I want to do all the red and no green and no blue, I'll get something that is, well, just that pure red. It didn't change anything. But let's say I'm going to do all the red, but then, I don't know, maybe a bit of blue. Let's put like 80 blue in there. Well, that changed the color only just a little bit. Maybe that wasn't drastic enough. Let's go halfway here. Let's make like 170 in the blue. Now we should be getting some sort of, yeah, look, you see that color? Now it's a little more red and blue together, making this kind of pinky purple thing. Let's toss a little bit of green in there, see how it looks. So let's put like just 80 green in there. And now when I run it, well, the 80 green didn't do much. Let's try putting, let's go a lot of green. Let's put 200 green in there. All of a sudden, whoa, colors are weird, right? If you Google RGB color picker, you can, I'm sure you can kind of play around with something. It will give you the RGB values and you just type them in for your fill. But this way you can make any color you want in the world, which is pretty cool. Not any color in the world. We are limited, right? It's only 0 to 250 for the reds and 0 to 250 for the greens and 0 to 250 for the blues. It is thousands upon thousands of different colors because this is technically a different color from that. But, you know, it's not, you know, as vibrant as real life, I guess, I suppose. But it's a pretty good approximation. So that's our built-in colors using documentation. We can now play around with RGB to change our fills or our borders. And then there's one last thing that I will get to over here too, which is inside of your fill, and I think you can do it in your border too, to be honest. Inside of your fill, instead of just saying fill equals and then a single color, we can do what's called a gradient. So you're going to say fill, and then we're going to make a gradient. And inside the parentheses of that gradient, you're going to choose a couple colors, and it will go from starting, if it's just a regular gradient, I think it starts at the middle, and then goes out, changing from one color to another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a bit wider, just not 1,000, wider so we can see it a little easier. And I'll make my gradient from maybe red, comma, to blue. Whoops, got to put it in quotes. And now the fill of this rectangle on the bottom here is going to have a gradient starting from red and going over to blue. So I run that now. We've got our rectangle starting at red. As it goes out, it goes over to blue. Pretty cool that it does that. You can add multiple colors. I can go from red to maybe blue and then to yellow, and it will automatically do the work to say like, hey, we started at red, now I went all the way to blue, faded all the way to blue, and now I'm fading all the way to yellow. It'll just make the gradient for you. You can make all sorts of weird colors. On top of that, you can do gradient, and then still inside of the gradient spot, once you're done with all of your colors, another comma, and you can say start, and by default, like we saw, it starts at the middle and spreads out. We can have this start at the left side. And so now this will start with red at the left side, and as it moves along to the right, it'll change to blue and then change to yellow. So if I run this now, it will start at red on the left side, change over to blue as it goes to the right, and then change to yellow. You can also have the start, instead of from the left or right, you can have the start from the top or bottom. So let's see if I start at the bottom. Starts from red and then to blue and then to yellow. You can also start from a corner by saying, if I want to start from the bottom left corner, well, I could say bottom dash left. And now it'll start from the bottom left corner going across to the top right corner. Or any combination of these, right? I could start at the top left, and now it'll start with red at the top left, go to blue, and then go to yellow on the bottom right. So that's, what do we talk about? Some default colors, docs and colors on the top there. Very useful page as you move along into it and get to more complicated things. It's a nice resource to have. And then we included, you could do fill equals, maybe I'll put a fill on this one, fill equals RGB, and then, a bunch of random colors. I don't know even what I'm choosing here. RGB lets you choose weird colors. And then also you could do fill equals gradient and then do a gradient of all sorts of different colors. And in here, you could choose the document colors. I could even do RGB over here, right? As my third color, I could do RGB now, 5, 77, and 80. And so you can have a mix of words, and then RGB for your gradient. And it goes, right? It still has, we have red to blue, I guess to that RGB value that I put on the bottom corner there. You got to just be careful. Now we got all sorts of parentheses here, right? You have to make sure I started a gradient parentheses. You see this kind of circled over here? It has to have an ending one. I made an RGB, starting parentheses, closing parentheses. RGB's got to have the commas inside of it to separate the 3 different values. RGB has to have a comma before it to separate it from blue, and a comma after it to separate it from whatever's coming next in the list there. All the way at the beginning, this rectangle, I start with a parentheses. It has to end on this ending parentheses over here to match with that starting one at the start, right? Why is it not doing it? It's not circling it for some reason. Oh, it just did. There it is. Look, the starting parentheses, it's matching up with that ending parentheses there, the little circle there. So as we get more and more stuff, you just have to be really careful with your parentheses, your commas, your quotes. Again, it's annoying at first, but as you go more and more, it just becomes like, second nature. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that one. See you in the next one.